So a lot of people are saying there are big problems in terms of excess capacity in China when it comes to what are called ghost cities. So these are cities that have been built up tower blocks upon tower blocks of residential apartments and malls and roads which simply sit empty, like ghost cities. This has been widely reported in the mainstream media, especially a couple of years ago. How big a problem is this in China? And is the Chinese residential real estate market in a bubble?
Well, quite frankly, in a country like China, where we've seen something like 450 million people increase in the major urban areas, the major cities over the last 15 years, you have to understand that the level of demand and need for housing and urban infrastructure has been on a stratospheric level. And automatically and almost inevitably, you're going to get periods of overbuilding, underbuilding, overbuilding, underbuilding. And quite frankly, most of these periods of overbuilding haven't lasted very long. For example, I remember in Shanghai back in the early 90s, they were building out the district on the other side of the river in Pudong, and they built over 100 tower blocks in the space of a year or two. The vacancy rate at the end of that period was about 73%. Fast forward 5 years, and that vacancy rate had gone down to something like 10 or 12%. So typically, because of the pace of urbanization, if you get ahead of yourself in terms of building a little bit too much, usually you find within 4 or 5 years it gets absorbed. And that's what's happening in the most famous case of Ordos, the town in China that most of the media focuses on. Ordos 3 years ago was a ghost city. Today, if you look at Ordos, you'll see traffic everywhere, people everywhere, the lights on at night. So it is filling up and has filled up a lot. In terms of a bubble, certain cities definitely have been in a bubble. Shenzhen, just north across the border from Hong Kong, we saw prices go up 50% in just over a year. And in other parts of the major cities, we've seen prices up 20 to 25%. But yet in the tier 3 and tier 4 cities, the smaller cities, we haven't seen anything like that bubble condition. So you've got a two-tier market, so to speak, where a lot of the secondary cities, the smaller cities, are actually still very gentle in terms of their price increases. So bubble in some cities, but for most of the cities, it's certainly not the case.